Well, that was a nice visit, but it taught us that, of course, the political picture in parts of Scotland is varied, as Malcolm Bruce was telling us. I'm joined now by some young voters, several voters from our Generation 2015, talking to people right across the UK. I've got Craig and Caitlin and James with me. Thanks very much for joining us. I suppose the basic question, first of all, is have you all made up your minds yet on which way you're going to vote? Are you still undecided? So quickly, Craig, first of all, yes or no?
Yes, I've made up my mind.
You made up your mind?
Undecided.
Undecided?
Yes, I made up my mind.
OK, so the rude question is, are you prepared to tell us which way?
Yes, I'm going to vote for the SNP.
Right. Is that a recent decision, or are you a long-standing supporter?
Well, I wasn't able to vote. I wasn't old enough at the last UK general election, so this will be my first time for the UK.
OK. And last year in the referendum?
Last year in the referendum, I voted yes.
OK. Undecided. So what's going through your mind?
Yeah, well, I think there's so many more than one question to be answered. Like, I need to kind of decide who I want to be Prime Minister, who I want to run the country, and then who I want to kind of be like a kingmaker as well. Like, it's making for a lot of questions that I'm not quite ready to give my answer to yet.
So what's the SNP case to your friend here? What would you say?
Well, it's very personal to me. I'm a medical student, so health and education are the two most important things for me. And over the past 5 years, I've seen more cuts coming to the health service. In England, staff's pay being frozen year after year while the cost of living goes up. And I think that needs to stop. I think we need to change it now. I think we need to invest in our health service staff. And when it comes to education, I want a party which supports education without cost. So, well, for me, I'm disappointed that the Labour Party introduced tuition fees. I'm supporting the SNP because they abolished them for people like me in Scotland, and because I believe they'll continue to protect and invest in our NHS.
OK, points clearly made. James, what are you thinking here? Which way are you going to vote? Are you prepared to tell us?
I'm planning on voting Lib Dem.
OK, you're voting Lib Dem, and of course I mentioned that, you know, there are several very strong pockets of Lib Dem support in this part of Scotland.
Including my constituency, Gordon.
Yeah. Right, so which is where Alex Salmond is going to stand?
Yes.
Against Malcolm Bruce's successor, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? And what kind of experience are the Lib Dems having at the moment?
Not very good in Scotland and not very good among students, and it's sort of perfectly understandable for students. I completely understand why you'd feel betrayed by the move to tuition fees. Personally, for me, it's not as big an issue as I think. I think why I'm not voting SNP particularly is I don't think they've dealt with the real problem for students, which is the cost of living. And it's the SNP in Scotland, the education maintenance allowance is the lowest in Europe, and that's been under the last 10 years under SNP governance, and we've done very little to help students who are trying to survive in Scotland, whereas Lib Dems have introduced policies at Westminster to try and mean that even though you're paying tuition fees, you don't have to pay them up front, and we're trying to increase the money that students have to live off.
Deployed with fellow students, how does it go down?
OK, I think it's more of a trust thing. You can say why they should have introduced tuition fees, why they had to, but it's the fact that the trust is broken. That's the thing that I think is really hurting the Lib Dems. OK,
here's a question. If the result of the election is the possibility of the SNP supporting a Labour government, if that were the position, is that something you'd welcome?
Absolutely. I think, actually, if we think about it, the SNP and Labour do have several things in common. It's important to remember that. They've been very effective with introducing the health service in the first place. I think there are other issues which will be more variable. Trident, spending £1 billion on new nuclear weapons, that will be one that needs to be up for discussion and is potentially what separates Labour from the SNP. OK,
so, Caitlin, just thinking about the issues that might sway you, would they be education? Would they be something like Trident and nuclear weapons? What is the issue that's likely to push you in one way, definitely?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm actually agreeing quite a lot with Craig there with what he's saying with, like, the NHS and education are so important, and I think I agree that on Thursday night on the debate and the same last night, a lot of what Labour and SNP were saying I was agreeing with.
Okay.
But, yeah.
You're giving us a hint there, yeah?
A little bit.
James, final word, very, very quick, because we're out of time. Are you likely to change your mind at all? Are you're certainly committed to the Lib Dem cause?
Fairly committed. Yeah.
Okay. Fairly committed, OK. You're leaving a bit of wriggle room there.
I think it's not good to say this is a party for me and they can do no wrong. I think that's an unhealthy attitude, and I think that's the attitude most of our generation have. I think
it's great to talk to you. Thank you to the three of you, and enjoy the debate tonight.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of the campaign. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So, good to talk to the three young voters from Generation 2015, giving us their perspective on the campaign. More from Aberdeen a little later, and of course we're looking forward to that debate which is taking place here in just over an hour's